Hare, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, are you there? And which device?
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
I'm trying to log in from computer also, Mate. 1 second.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Mate. You can hear me okay in this device, Mate?
Yes. Nabia is here.
Okay, perfect. Mate. So,
Yes,
can I
Prabhuji.
go ahead? Can I get started, Mate? Then?
Yes. Yeah, I think we can get started. Okay. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining us today on another wonderful session on Srimad Bhagavatam summary. And today we will be doing the first canto, 18th and 19th chapter. We'll be covering these two chapters from the first canto. And this would be the very last session on the first canto. And this is taken by His Grace Sundaranand Prabhuji. And thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji is a wonderful scholar and his classes are very beautiful to hear. So thank you so much for gracing us today. Please take over, Prabhuji. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mate. Hare Krishna. So, let's offer prayers briefly. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Budhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chekshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desadarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you so much, devotees, for your valuable time. So let me also share my screen so that we can see the presentation. Okay. I hope you can see this presentation okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So there's a lot of content, but it's a wonderful chapters. They're the last two chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. So beautiful, wonderful topic, and so many practical applications also for us. So we'll try to cover the storyline and then also some of the lessons that we can take practically for our life through this pastime. There are lots of lessons in Srimad Bhagavatam purports in this section. I cannot cover everything, but some of them will highlight only. So this is just a quick context. This being the last two chapters of the whole canto, I thought some overview will be helpful. So obviously, first three chapters, we heard about the prelude of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the sages of Naimisharanya asked 6 questions to the Suta Goswami, and then Suta Goswami answers those 6 questions, primarily establishing the supremacy of the Bhakti Yoga process among everything, and then as the highest goal, and the divinity of Bhagavan, feature of the Supreme Lord. And then also he establishes the greatness of the Srimad Bhagavatam itself as a scripture, glorious scripture. So that's so the first 3 chapters are highly, I'm summarizing briefly, and there's a lot of content in those 3 chapters. So now, after that, first 3 chapters, in the 4th chapter, this is actually the link for this section, how this rest of the chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, specifically these 2 chapters are also related. In the 4th chapter of the first canto, Saunak Rishi placed 3 more questions. Actually, the way Srimad Bhagavatam proceeds is, there are many places it could have stopped, but the sages, the audience are so eager to hear, and they place more inquiries to Sutta Goswami or Sukadeva Goswami based on the conversation. So that's how Srimad Bhagavatam continues further. So these are the two additional questions that are asked in the fourth chapter. Uh, Primarily, what is the history of Srimad Bhagavatam? That means, how did Srimad Bhagavatam appear? Who spoke to whom, or where, and why, and like that, basically. And then question 2 is they ask, Sonakrushi asks, is about Maharaj Parikshit's own birth. How did he take birth? Please tell us more about his activities. Please tell us about his renunciation. Why did he renounce his whole kingdom? Like that. In fact, that specifically is the link that's going towards our current section today. Why did he renounce the kingdom like that? So then the third question he also places before Suta Goswami is about knowing more about Sukadeva Goswami. How did he meet Parishit Maharaj? How was he pursued by Hastinapur Vasis? And how did the meeting with Parishit happen? Like that, they asked these questions. In fact, these three questions are answered in the rest of the whole first canto. That means from the fourth chapter, middle of the fourth chapter, till end of the whole canto. That is 19th chapter till today. So especially the question 2 and question 3. So question 1 was answered in the fourth chapter, middle of the fourth chapter, till about sixth chapter. So you can see here chapter 4 to 6. There is a history of Srimad Bhagavatam where Narada Muni instructs to Vyasadeva how he first instructs him to meditate on the Supreme Lord, and then instructs him to write such a literature which glorifies the Supreme Lord profusely, repeatedly, and not glorifying the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, the four Purusharthas. So that's how he instructs him, and Vyasadeva in his meditation, he writes the Srimad Bhagavatam. That whole narration is described, including the life story of Narada Muni with so many lessons is described in that section. And after that, the storyline goes into the answering the second and third questions described above. So basically, activities of Maharaj Parishit. But instead of directly going before describing about Maharaj Parishit's birth, pastime, and his activities, so Sudha Goswami describes the activities that precede that birth of Maharaj Parishit. So through that, he establishes different things like Krishna's Bhaktavatsala feature, how he showed affection to so many wonderful devotees, Draupadi, Uttara, Kunti Devi, Parikshit Maharaj, and how he reciprocates with Bhishma Dev, the Hastinapur Vasis, when he's going from Hastinapur, and then when he's reaching Dwaraka, how he reciprocates with Dwaraka Vasis. All that is described in the chapter 7 to 11. And then in the 12th chapter, finally the birth pastime of Parikshit is described after giving all the prelude of what are preceded before the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. And then the glorious qualities of Parikshit Maharaj also described in this chapter. And then next chapter describes about how next chapters are actually describing other activities of Parikshit Maharaj, especially they are getting to the stage of how Parikshit Maharaj becomes king and how Parikshit Maharaj rules the kingdom. To set that stage, these other chapters are described. How Vidura enlightens Dhritarashtra and how Dhritarashtra lives and achieves perfection. And Krishna's disappearance pastime is described briefly, though it's elaborated later in the 11th canto again. And then 15th chapter describes about how Pandavas also retire after knowing that Krishna has left his planet, after making Parikshit Maharaj as the king, and they also achieve perfection. So now this goes back to the question 3, basically, Parikshit Maharaj activities. So 16th and 17th, you've seen last week how Parikshit Maharaj rules the kingdom so gloriously with wonderful qualities, responsibly. And then he even punishes Kali also when he sees. So that section also must have been very nice for all of you to hear. That's a wonderful section, how he punishes Kali. We'll see some of it also today, but not the details of a full conversation between Dharma and the bull and the earth in the form of a cow, like that. So that 16th and 17th chapter, we heard about Parikshit Maharaj ruling. So you notice in that chapters, we heard about how he ruled very, very responsibly while he was ruling the kingdom. Not like, oh my God, why do you need to rule this kingdom? Oh my God, why do you need to take care of these citizens? I rather go sit in the forest for meditation. Not like that. He very responsibly ruled with detachment. So, but today's section will describe the renunciation portion, how he renounced everything when the time came. There's a good contrast for several of the kings in the Bhagavatam pastimes. We'll see the different kings who are ruled responsibly, take care of the duties responsibly while they're there. And then when the time comes, they're so detached, they give up everything and they take full shelter of Supreme Lord exclusively, dedicatedly, like how we might aspire for Vanaprastha ashram, like that. So that's how we can see the contrast now between the last chapters and today's section. Now, these are the last two chapters. We're going to continue today. Chapter 18th is where Parishit Maharaj, the circumstance where Brahmana Bhai, because of his fury curses, Parishit Maharaj is described. And then later chapter, 19th chapter, how Parishit Maharaj deals with that curse. And then what does he do? How does he take it like that? And then also finally, we'll see the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. That's addressing the third question also we'll see. Third question that we described in the fourth chapter right here. That will describe. So that's the overall context for 18th and 19th chapter, how we are entering this chapter. Let's go through this. So sorry for so much text, and I'm not so good at selecting all the pictures. So I took some of the pictures. I could not complete all the selection of pictures in time, but I'll share with you whatever I understood. According to my realization, I'll share. And obviously the content is taken it from Bhagavad Subodhini by His Grace Gaurang Darshan Das Prabhu. So I don't have to summarize it so well. He did a wonderful job of summarizing this vast text, vast purports, taking the key points like that. So we'll highlight some of those and then see the practical application also. So this chapter goes into several sections. So I will go section by section. So first section is describing about, interestingly, like I described, Suta Goswami or Sukadeva Goswami usually describe pastimes in very, very brief format first, in a condensed format. And then only when the audience asks more questions, they'll elaborate. So that's what we're seeing in this first section. In this first section, what we're seeing is Suta Goswami quickly narrates the pastime. So that's what we're going to see. Basically, what is described, he says, at the time of birth also, Parishit Maharaj was in the womb of Uttara and he was saved from Brahmastra only by the mercy of Krishna. So he's highlighting that Parishit Maharaj is already a recipient of Krishna's mercy. That's what he's highlighting here. So such a glorious personality, Parishit Maharaj. Now, he was such a surrendered devotee to the Lord that he was fearless and without any anger when he heard that his death is going to come in few days because of Takshaka, which is a snake bird that is as pronounced as a curse by Brahmana boy. So if you notice, he's not going to detailed storyline. He's just summarizing in few verses the whole thing. So, but after the sages ask more with enthusiasm and eagerness to hear more, then he will describe more. That will cover in the rest of the chapter. He says, he glorifies Parishit Maharaj. Basically, he's very fearless. He's not afraid of death at all. Why? Because he's being surrendered to the Lord. In fact, in these purports, we hear from Prabhupada also that this quality of being fearless comes to us also by the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, by surrendering to Krishna. Through this, we can get the gift of being fearless. In fact, fearlessness is one of the wonderful qualities that is coming from Bhakti itself. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto also describes this section very elaborately, with Navayogendra speaking to King Numi. So that is one of the features of Bhakti. No fear. Why? Because Krishna is there for me. Krishna will take care of me. That is why fearlessness comes. So actually, the lot can be spoken on this topic also, but I'll mention a couple of things. How we as practicing devotees can develop this fearlessness is by practicing bhakti first of all. That is the first horse before the cart. So that's the first thing, practicing bhakti nicely. Second thing, while practicing bhakti, we're also cultivating our consciousness. We're also understanding nature of our Krishna. We develop the faith that Krishna is so wonderful. Krishna is kind. Krishna is always looking for what I'm doing good, not what I'm doing fault. Krishna is always my well-wisher. Krishna always protects his devotees. Krishna is always looking to fulfill my desires to go closer to him. So, and whatever happens, Krishna arranged in such a way that will somehow benefit me to go closer towards Krishna. Even though it may be painful right now for me to deal with, but somehow help me towards my ultimate goal. When we develop this consciousness little by little, then we can also be fearless and very happily situated in devotion service. Now, also Sutta Goswami also describes how Parikshit Maharaj gave up all material association when he heard this curse, and he surrendered to Sukadeva Goswami as a disciple, and he understood the last actual situation, and he gave up his body on bank of Ganges. If you notice, whole storyline is not there. Sukadeva Goswami, where did he come up? How did Sukadeva Goswami come? No mention. And then what did he actually do to develop the understanding of Lord's actual situation? How did he give his body? How did bank of Ganges come up? Nothing is described. Is very encapsulated form. Small capsule, it describes everything. So now, in the next set of verses, one of the nice things for our benefit is described. Sutta Goswami is describing. One of the key for glorious death is that if we practice our life in such a way that we're dedicating our lives to the topics of Krishna, that means hearing Krishna Kada, speaking Krishna Kada, and if you're constantly remembering Krishna, Krishna's lotus feet, then we don't have any misconceptions even at the time of death. Why is this stressed misconception even at the time of death? Somebody can be very sober, very nice. Everything is nice, like they can say. But the time of death, so much pain we can hear from scriptures describe how is so much painful, not only because of the physical condition of the body, but because of all the attachments we developed throughout the life. Because of that, every attachment, everything, all attachments are going away at one shot. We're going away from all attachments. That's why it's so painful. At that time, we can get all sorts of doubts. Will Krishna really take care of me? What will happen to my wife? What will happen to my children? Oh my God, I didn't pour water on my plants today. Everything will come up. So that is why those are misconceptions will not be there for a devotee. Why is that possible? How is that possible? Because of Lord Krishna's mercy. Not because that we are great devotees, we did so much great service. We may do as much great service, but there is nothing before Krishna. But Krishna is so grateful master for us. Krishna is so kind on us that he'll give his mercy, even if we do little bit with sincerity and seriousness, whatever we offer to Krishna, Krishna accepts it. And then he gives so much mercy that we can take a glorious death as devotees. So that's the lesson Sutta Goswami describes for us. Then is described, then he also says that Parikshit Maharaj, he backtracks a little bit. While Parikshit Maharaj was ruling the planet, so Kali could not flourish on his planet. Why and how? It's elaborated in the purport also by Srila Prabhupada. Basically, Parikshit Maharaj ensured that there's profuse glorification of Krishna through chanting of the holy names, through hearing Krishna Kada, glorifying, sharing Krishna Kada. Like that, through that, Kali's influence is not there. Even Prabhupada writes in the section of purports that even today, Kali's influence on all of us can be minimized by establishing this process of Shravanam Kirtanam, chanting holy names of Krishna and glorifying Krishna Kada and hearing Krishna Kada like that. So that way, all the effects of Kali need not be perceived by us. It's not that Kali will go away, that our influence on us will be minimized. That means we are not affected by the Kali's influences like that. So the last point from this section is again glorifying the Krishna Kada or Bhagavata Kada, importance of hearing Bhagavad Kada. Basically, it's described directly. If we desire perfection in our life, we must submissively hear Krishna Kada. So, what is the adjective given to Krishna Kada? Transcendental qualities and transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Because Krishna is transcendental. That is the point highlighted here. Krishna's transcendental qualities and pastimes, we should submissively hear. Then we can achieve perfection in life. Is there more simple process than that? We just by hearing Krishna Katha, we can achieve perfection in life. That is the glorious path of Bhakti Yoga. Our Srimad Bhagavatam is full of glorification on Bhakti Yoga path. In fact, one of the faith, one of the practice as practicing devotees, we should develop this faith that Bhakti Yoga is sufficient for us to go back to Godhead. We don't need this, that, anything. We just need Bhakti Yoga. That is a faith we should develop. Actually, it's described as we grow in Bhakti, we initially start to develop practices of a Bhakta. That means I wear my neck beads, I wear a dhoti, I wear tilak. We focus on practices initially. That means we're like identifying ourselves as a Bhakta. Identity. We place our focus on identity as Bhakta. As we grow in Bhakti, we develop faith in Bhakti Yoga process, that Bhakti is glorious. Bhakti is all in all, like that. And then as we grow in Bhakti furthermore, we also appreciate the glories of Krishna, and we start to do it for pleasure of Krishna, everything. It doesn't mean that we don't start practicing doing things for pleasure of Krishna. But as we mature in Bhakti, that becomes more prominent. That object of our offering becomes more prominent, like that. So that's the glories of hearing Krishna Katha. Actually, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam that we're all doing regularly now, even through these sessions and other sessions that are there through Bhakti Sanga, through just by hearing Bhagavatam, we can develop all these qualities. Knowledge of Krishna, knowledge of Krishna's form, beauty of Krishna's form, beauty of Krishna's wonderful qualities, wonderful nature of Krishna, how Krishna takes care of his devotees, wonderful nature of Bhakti, how simple is Bhakti, how glorious is Bhakti, how we can easily achieve success in Bhakti, what are the secrets of achieving success in Bhakti, and then how we are supposed to be practicing Bhakti, and how great devotees achieved success in Bhakti, what kind of aspirations they have in Bhakti. All these are wonderfully described in Bhagavatam. So there's a first section where Sutta Goswami gave a quick summary, like a gloss of the whole thing, glorifying Bhakti, glorifying Parishit Maharaj, and glorifying how he went back to Godhead. So I'm going to go into the next section. After hearing that, the sages immediately they start to respond back. Basically, they want to hear more Krishna Katha. So they start with appreciating Sutta Goswami. Because you might notice Saunik Rishi was elder to Sutta Goswami. So they also give blessings to the speaker Sutta Goswami. They say, may you live so many years because you're narrating Krishna Katha for our benefit. Because just by hearing Krishna Katha, we make progress in Bhakti. See that point there? So just by hearing Krishna Katha. So they're giving blessings to him, that may he live long, may he have eternal fame, like that. And then they're also contrasting, before they heard from Sutta Goswami, they started to do a sacrifice, karma kanda sacrifice. You might have heard in the previous chapters also, how that resulted in only smoke coming onto their body, but they didn't see real benefit practically for them. But now, when they're hearing the Krishna Katha from Sutta Goswami, they're expressing that they're experiencing satisfaction. They're experiencing pleasure by hearing Krishna Katha. So in this purport, whatever I put in parentheses are primarily points from the purport, some key point from the purport, or some summarized point from the purport. So basically it's described that whether it's for spiritual realization or for material benefit, without devotional service, we don't get any benefit. In fact, you might have known this from Bhagavad Gita also. Like all the paths of yoga need the element of devotion or bhakti for them to be successful. So that's what is highlighted. So they're glorifying Krishna Katha hearing is beneficial for us. We've seen benefit already. Not that we'll see the benefit after we die, after 100 lifetimes, not like that. We're seeing benefit already. We're pleased already in the heart. And then they're glorifying the devotee association. They're saying even a moment of devotee association cannot be compared with any material benefit you can get, whether it's going to Svargaloka, heavenly planet in the material world, or even achieving liberation. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that achieving devotee association may be accepted as the highest goal of life. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, as we proceed, we'll see there are many devotees. Oh, actually, in this chapter also we'll see. Parishad Maharaj desires that. Basically, so many devotees desire for devotee association. So that's what we'll see here also. And then they express, now after glorifying Suta Goswami, glorifying the process of hearing Krishna Katha, glorifying Sadhu Sangha, devotee association, now they express that there is no satiation. That means there's no, I don't want anymore. There's no such feeling like that in hearing Krishna Katha. For whom? For those who are expert in relation nectar. So we might say, I'm not expert in relation nectar, so then it's not applying for me. But for any activity, especially devotional activity, the more we do, the more we develop taste for it. In fact, that is the reason we're chanting every day, at least the fixed number of rounds every day. Every day we are hearing, every day we're reading. So by doing this activity regularly, we are sure to develop taste, whether it's in chanting or whether it's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or is reading Srimad Bhagavatam. There are so many devotees. In fact, I personally, I have my own example. When I heard Srimad Bhagavatam class in my early days, if you tell me what did you learn from the class, I say it was a nice class, and I remember only one joke from the class. And then after some days, I could only remember one question and answer that was given in the class. And then slowly, I can remember 1 or 2 points from the class like that now. So like that, our just by hearing classes, by regularly practicing Bhakti Yoga, faithfully, sincerely, we're sure to grow. So that is one other thing that they're sharing here. So now they also, this is another common theme in the whole first canto. Qualities of a speaker, qualities of hearer, primarily, these two are primarily mentioned several places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also receiving of a sadhu also. So they say, you are glorious as speaker because Supreme Lord is your object of service. You don't have, oh, I'll pray this God, this God, this God, not like that. You have fixed that Krishna is your object of service. That's why you're glorious. But that's wonderful quality of speaker. Now for a hearer, we're very, very eager to hear. They're expressing their eagerness. Why they're expressing? They want speaker to be enlivened to share with them. That's why they're very eager to express that we are very eager to hear like that. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam discussion nicely flows when the audience is very eager to hear also. And the audience is very eager to know. Then speaker will reveal more to us, more than what he would normally share with us. So now subject matter is also glorious, they're saying, because it's describing the Krishna's magnanimous and pure pastimes. That's why subject matter is glorious. So now they're placing the actual request before them. If you notice, they glorified the speaker, they glorified the subject matter, they express their eagerness, and then they're placing their request before him. What is the request? They're saying, we heard that Parishad Maharaj attained Krishna's lotus feet by hearing the topics of Krishna. So please describe the same to us also. And then they're saying, please narrate the narrations of the unlimited. Why? Because they're supreme, they're purifying for everyone, they're wonderful, they're full of Bhakti Yoga. And they've spoken to Parishad Maharaj also. And they're very dear to devotees. So these are all the different adjectives. Considering the time, I'm not putting all the Sanskrit words, but these are different adjectives which they're glorifying what they want to hear from him. Basically, they want to hear Krishna Katha, and they're expressing that eagerness to Suta Goswami. Now, that goes to the next section. Now, after Suta Goswami hears, wow, these sages are very eager to hear Krishna Katha. So now let me tell them the whole story. So then he starts to tell the whole story. He starts first. Remember, we've seen this in the first canto earlier chapters also. Sutta Goswami always starts from a place of humility and a place of gratitude for his spiritual master. So you can see from here also, he's thinking, I'm actually born from a very low birth, but because of serving, following, and conversing with great souls like Sukadeva Goswami, I'm cleansed of all my disqualifications. So that means for Bhakti Yoga process, we don't need to be born in a Brahmana family. We don't need to be very highly intelligent. We don't need to have very great skill of doing something. As long as we are sincerely following, sincerely serving great souls, and actually there's typo, conversing with the great souls. So then that means we are hearing from them, we're sharing confidentially what are the difficulties we are going through while practicing Bhakti Yoga, and inquiring from them, how do you do this? I try to chant, but I'm always sleeping when I'm chanting. What can I do? Can you please give me some tips? Then they'll share with us. So like that, when we converse with great souls, then we can develop qualification and we can become purified like that. That's what this is talking about. And then he's also saying, if somebody follows the direction of great devotees, not only just conversing with them, not only following them, but we should also follow their direction. It's good to ask questions, but when we get the answer, we need to understand it. We need to see how I can apply in my life and actually put that into practice. And if we have difficulty in practicing that, we again place the question before great devotees again, our mentor or spiritual master, and ask them, I'm trying to do this, but I'm having this problem. What can I do? Please help me. When you ask them, then they will help us like that also. So he's glorifying, following the great devotees, and also chanting the holy name of Krishna. And he also glorifies Krishna through this. He says, even goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, hankers for the service of Krishna. And then he says, who else but Lord Krishna can be called as Bhagavan? Because just the water that touches his toenails of his lotus feet, which is Ganga, is worshipped by Brahma. He collects it and then collects that water of Ganges. And then this Ganges water purifies all the three worlds, even including Lord Shiva, like that is glorified. And then he says that if somebody is dhiras, they're firmly attached to Krishna, they can immediately give up attachment to gross and subtle bodies and attain great Paramahamsa stage. Normally, going to Paramahamsa stage is not simple. It requires lots of work. But here is glorifying Krishna is so glorious. Just by developing attachment to Krishna, Krishna will do the work for us. Krishna will help us. We have to do little bit work and show our sincerity to Krishna. Krishna will help us to move forward. That's what is glorifying here. And then he says, finally, I will describe Lord Vishnu's pastime as far as my knowledge and realization allows me. You see, this is a sign of humility again. He's in a humble position. He's saying that according to my knowledge, according to my relation, whatever my relation allows, I'll share that much with you. But I'm happy to share that, like that. So now, coming to the next section. So after glorifying Supreme Lord in a humble position, Sutta Goswami starts to narrate the actual story now, details. So the story, let me see the time. Oh, already 35 minutes. Okay. The story, what I will do is, many of us know the storyline already. So I'll briefly tell the storyline, but we'll focus on the application points and the glorifications that we can see in the purports from Prabhupada, like that. Yeah. So basically, Parishit Maharaj one day was hunting in the forest is described, and he was very fatigued and thirsty. And then he went to Samik Rishi Ashram. Of course, one point that is highlighted by devotees in this section is that Parishit Maharaj becoming fatigued and thirsty is not ordinary, it is special. So it's all we do the will of the Supreme. That's what we'll describe also in next couple of minutes also. So he finally goes to Samik Rishi ashram. But Samik Rishi was in trance or meditation at that time, closing his eyes. So he cannot see any external, he cannot sense any external, he cannot hear external voices. He's not seeing anything. So he's in trance. So he's in internal consciousness at that time. So Parishit Maharaj asked for water from him, but the sage was in trance, so he doesn't respond. So it's described Parishit Maharaj momentarily overcome with anger at that time. So this is not like anger in mode of passion, ignorance that one of us might experience. Parishit Maharaj was a great devotee. So then what does he do? He places there, he sees a dead snake there. He puts it like a garland around the neck of the sage's shoulder with his bow, and then returns back to his palace. So one key point highlighted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport is that this was not an ordinary incident, or it's not like a sinful incident or an accident or something like that. It's actually Parishit Maharaj was manifesting the will of the Supreme Lord. It was the desire of the Supreme Lord so that Srimad Bhagavatam can appear for benefit of all of us. So we all can have the benefit of hearing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the reason this happened. Some of us might have seen different movies or TV serials or whatever we might have seen in other places. So we should, when our faith should be in the scriptures and our acharyas. So there may be different reasons given in different movies or something like that, but our faith is clear. Our acharyas are telling is because of the desire of the Lord only this happened like that. So we place our faith in that, and then so that is what happened. Parishit Maharaj placed a lifeless snake, and then he went away. So remember, I mentioned that it's not an ordinary thing that Parishit Maharaj becoming fatigued and thirsty. How we can say that? Because Parishit Maharaj, while he is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 whole days, he did not eat anything, he did not drink anything, is described. He did not sleep also. That means he was capable of staying for 7 days without food, without water like that. Of course, while hearing Krishna Kada. So, but for him to get fatigued like this is definitely not ordinary like that. That is the reason it's mentioned also. Now let's go to the next section. After Parikshit Maharaj did this and went back to his kingdom, right? Went back to his palace. Then what happened is that the Samik Rishi had a son, a young son. His name was Shringi. This young son heard about the offense that this king made to his father. And then he had Brahmanical power that he got from his father. Because of this Brahmanical power, he cursed the king, saying that this king is going to die in 7 days by the bite of a snake bird, Takshaka. Like that, he cursed him. So in this section is described in the purport by Prabhupada that even though he had great Brahmanical power, he was lacking in spiritual culture due to inexperience like that. That's one thing is described. Second thing is this Shringi became puffed up with Brahmanical power by the influence of Kali, age of Kali. So that is the reason he was behaving like that. In fact, when Shringi curses Maharaj Parishit, he says, "Oh, look, Krishna just disappeared and this king is doing whatever he wants because Kali Yuga started. Let me teach him a lesson." Like that he was feeling. That means he's thinking he's doing great thing. But what he missed was that he did not do justice. Generally, one of the principles of justice is the punishment given is proportionate to the crime that is involved or the mistake that is done is proportionate to it, not disproportionate to it. So that is why it is described as inexperience here. And then he had some kind of arrogance that Brahmanas are great like that. And then it was also influenced by Kali, is described in the purport here. Now, Shringi finally discloses this incident to his father, Samik Rishi, when he comes out of trance. Samik Rishi, when he comes out of trance, he sees the snake in his neck or shoulder, on the shoulders. So he takes it away as it is, as if it is inconsequential. It's not a significant thing for him. He just threw it. He didn't consider king's insult as a great thing. As a, why did he do that? Not like that. Just took it away. And then he heard from Sringi what happened. And then he actually regretted that his son Sringi cursed a great devotee, Mahabhagavata devotee, a Rajarshi, Parishit, who is a king, is representative of Supreme Lord. He cursed him. He felt so bad for that. And then he understood that means some reaction will come for his son for that. So he prayed to Supreme Lord to forgive his son for his mistake also. That is also described. And then in this section, Suti Goswami also describes how the devotees are so forbearing, that means like tolerant, that they're never inclined to avenge, that means take revenge for whatever happened, even though they're capable to do so. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, devotees always use their power in the service of the Lord and his devotees only, not for their own selfishness. So what is this referring to? This is referring to Parishit Maharaj. When he came to know about the curse, he could have cursed back this Ringi, but he did not do that. He could have taken revenge in some other way because he's the king, ruling king. He didn't do that. That is a quality of a devotee. In fact, in Chaitanya Charitamrita also we hear from Lord Chaitanya that one of the quality of the devotee is that personally, if somebody does something harm to him, whether it is insults him, curses him, hurts him, he might protect himself, but he doesn't curse back. He tolerates as much as possible. So, but if somebody offends a devotee, another devotee, or offends Krishna, or blasphemes Krishna or devotee, then they become angry and they try to do something to avoid that, something to teach them a lesson about like that. So that's also given here, great quality of devotee. Now, that's how this chapter ends. Basically, what we have seen is the glorification of Maharaj Parikshit, glorification of Bhakti, glorification of Shravanam Kirtanam. We heard all of that. Now, at the end of this chapter, so far, Parikshit Maharaj is cursed. Now, we'll transition to the next chapter now. So, next chapter, again, the context of this chapter is same, meaning the activities of Maharaj Parikshit, the question number 2 that was asked in the 4th chapter of first canto by Sonak Rishi. And then also, this chapter has the answer to the 3rd question also, which is, how did Sukadeva Goswami meet Parikshit Maharaj like that? So, initial portion is about activities of Maharaj Parikshit only, how he knows the kingdom like that. So, we continue the storyline. There is some important lessons in this section for us. How did Parikshit Maharaj see? What did he do after he heard about the curse from Sringi? So, Parikshit Maharaj sincerely regretted. As soon as he went back to his palace, he sincerely regretted, oh my God, why did I do that? Maybe that Rishi was really in trance. Like that, he regretted, it seems. So, in this purport, Prabhupada writes a beautiful point. The accidental sins committed by a devotee are sincerely regretted. And by the grace of the Lord, all sins we commit unwillingly, devotees commit unwillingly, are burnt in the fire of repentance. So the fire of repentance will burn away all the sins committed accidentally, not intentionally. So, so that is a power of regretting, power of repentance. Of course, there's a distinction between repentance and lamentation. Repentance should lead to corrective action and do performance of devotion service more seriously, more sincerely, tivra bhakti like that. Repentance should not lead to lamentation saying that, oh my God, I'm useless. I cannot do devotion service properly. I don't want to chant anymore. I don't want to talk to devotees anymore. That is lamentation. That is mode of ignorance. But the devotees, they sincerely regret, but they also move forward in devotion service. In fact, Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj describes the 4R formula that my Guru Maharaj Rompa Samar also describes that, repeats that sometimes. The 4Rs are recognizing mistake, regretting the mistake, and then rectifying the mistake, and then reinstating in devotion service, like that. So we should recognize the mistake, not that, oh, I'm always perfect, I don't do any mistakes, like that. Not like that. We accept our mistakes when somebody shares with us, or we identify ourselves, and then we regret for them sincerely, that why did I do like this. But then we also rectify, so that way it doesn't happen again. Of course, sometimes we don't have capacity to rectify fully, but we do the best in our capacity forward. Krishna only looks for whatever we can do in our capacity properly. Sincerely, whatever we can do, that's all he cares about. So we do our best to not repeat the same mistake again. And then we reinstate in devotion service. That means we go with more rigor in devotion service directly again. So, and then what does he do? He takes responsibility for his mistakes. He's saying, I must expect some calamity for this. In fact, I desire that some calamity should come to me. Why? So that I don't commit this offense again, and also so that it doesn't affect my family members or others because of me. This is another beautiful quality of a devotee, that because of my mistake, others should not suffer. That's a devotional quality of a devotee, that they don't want others to suffer because of their own mistake. They want to take the responsibility for the mistakes. If something is coming because of the mistake, they want to take the repercussions of that. They want to take the consequences of that mistake or offense or whatever that is. So now, Parishit, he did not beg a pardon from Samik Rishi. That is what described. Why? Why he did not beg pardon from Samik Rishi? He could have went back and said, my dear Samik Rishi, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. Please forgive me, like that he could have told, right? Prabhupada describes, because he did not want to embarrass Samik Rishi, because he already, Samik Rishi sent a messenger expressing his dissatisfaction, is sorry for this incident of his son cursing him like that. So he didn't want to embarrass Samik Rishi, number one. Number two, he also did not desire negation of the curse. He thought this is a better thing that has happened, actually. So how is the better thing that happened? He thought, let me see if it's in the next section also. Yeah, it's in the next section also. But essentially the point is that Parishit considered this as the opportunity for him to fully renounce his family life, his kingdom, and then fully dedicate himself in devotion service. That's why he saw it as a great opportunity. You probably heard in the previous chapters how Vidura left the kingdom also, and was happy that he's getting opportunity to engage in devotion service because of this incident of Duryodhana insulted him like that. Similar to that, he took as an opportunity. Like that, devotees see even in misfortune how this is helpful for me to go closer to Krishna. So that's one of the qualities exhibited by Parikshit Maharaj here. And then Parikshit Maharaj finally decided to dedicate the remaining days in service of Krishna by renouncing his kingdom, going to the bank of Ganges, and wanting to fast till death, like that. So now, so another thing to note from Parikshit Maharaj incident is also that he did not lament too much, thinking that, oh my God, why did I make that mistake? Why did I make this mistake? I'm not supposed to make that mistake. I'm such a great person. Not like that. He's so humble, and he didn't lament on what has happened in the past. He thought about, how can I serve in this situation right now? Whatever has happened. Now, how can I serve Krishna perfectly now? That's one good quality Chaitanya Charan Prabhu points out. Another thing he also points out is, he didn't think that, oh, I did such a small mistake of putting a dead snake around the shoulders of this sage. But why did I get a big thing now? I have to die in 7 days. Krishna is so merciless. Oh, this Sringi is so bad. He didn't go into all that loops. He just thought about how can I serve in Krishna right now nicely. And then he dedicated in service of Krishna. Actually, we can also get that strength by just practicing Bhakti Yoga only. We don't need to do something great. By practicing Bhakti Yoga, our tolerance, patience, this forbearance quality, all this will improve. And then we also slowly see everything in connection with our goal, ultimate goal of reaching Krishna, ultimate goal of serving Krishna. Is this favorable to service to Krishna? Is this unfavorable to service of Krishna? That's how we consider everything. Then we can be happily situated in Bhakti always. That's another lesson Chaitanya Prabhu describes. Now, back to the next section. In this section, Parikshit Maharaj now has come to the bank of the Ganges. And then at this time, all the great sages are also came to the bank of Ganges is described. And in section purport, Prabhupada describes, sages actually foresaw that Srimad Bhagavatam will be spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. So they wanted to not miss out the opportunity to hear the wonderful, glorious Srimad Bhagavatam like that. That is the main reason they came, it is described. And then when he comes, like many sections in Srimad Bhagavatam, how to receive a sadhu is also described in this section. Parikshit Maharaj receives them nicely, welcomes them nicely, and then speaks to them nicely like that. And then he glorifies them with sweet words. He says, we are most fortunate to have your association. Supreme Lord is so wonderful that he gave me this situation so that I can be detached. And I desire to hear pastimes of Krishna continuously like that. And then this is a nice section. Remember I told you that Bhagavatam has a way for us to develop right desires, spiritual desires, right aspirations of the great devotees. So these are the aspirations of the devotee, Parikshit Maharaj. He said, may I have attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna. May I have wonderful association of his devotees. May I have friendly relations with all living beings. These are actually, there's another devotee in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll hear when Krishna went to Madura, there's a florist, Sudama. He also asked almost identical to this, if I remember correctly. Exactly similar aspirations he also expresses to the Lord actually. So these are the nice. See, from this we can see, first is we want devotion to Krishna. Second is association with devotees is very, very essential for us. We cannot give away with it, even though we are great devotees or anything like that at any stage. Third is, it's important not to neglect other living beings. We should always be compassionate to ignorant people. And of course, we are also encouraged not to disturb the envious people for their own benefit. So then sages appreciated Parikshit Maharaj's decision, and then they approved his decision. And then Parikshit Maharaj places two questions before the sages. What are these two questions? These are the two questions are important questions because these form the basis for rest of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam in one sense. So what is the questions he says? What is the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances? That's the first question. And second is specifically, what is the ultimate unalloyed duty of a dying person? So these are the two questions he places before the sages. So now is described that I could not complete the next section in the presentation. So I'll refer to the book and speak. Please forgive me. So I'll share with you. So basically, so far what we have seen is Parikshit Maharaj asked the two questions before the sages. So the sages is described, even though sages were great sages were there, but they could not agree among themselves. What is the right thing? What is the right answer for this? What is the right thing he should do right now? What is the right thing everybody should do? Is it karma? Is it jnana? Is it bhakti? They could not agree. It's described not that they did not know also. They also were waiting for hearing from Sukadeva Goswami also is described. So scriptures sometimes glorify one personality by showing others as lower for that particular circumstance only. Like Chaitanya Prabhu describes one time in Narsimhadev pastime, is described Prahlad Maharaj could pacify Narsimhadev. But Lakshmi Devi says, I never seen this form like that. So how is that possible? Brahma could not pacify. Narada could not pacify. They're not going before Lord himself. That is just to glorify Prahlad Maharaj in the particular circumstance. Similarly, the sages wanted all glorification for Sukadeva Goswami. So that's why they're waiting for entrance of Sukadeva Goswami. So that is the right time when, let me go to 20, I'm going to the Bhagavad Subhadin section. So then Sukadeva Goswami enters the assembly. Sukadeva Goswami's beautiful bodily features are described. Interestingly, many features are related to like great personalities, even like Supreme Lord Krishna. For example, his bodily hue is like that Krishna has described. So he has wide eyes, raised nose, like that beautiful features of Sukadeva Goswami described. We should remember that Krishna Katha is not just hearing about Krishna. Krishna Katha is also hearing about Krishna's devotees, like Sukadeva Goswami, Parishit Maharaj, Pandavas, like that. So after describing the beautiful body features of Sukadeva Goswami, then Maharaj Parishit receives this sage also very nicely. He gives him a seat, and then all the sages, understanding Sukadeva Goswami's glories, they all stand up and offer respect to him. Even though Sukadeva Goswami appeared in naked, without any clothes, but still great personalities can recognize the greatness or devotion of a person. So even our spiritual masters can see through our external makeover, whatever we have. They can appreciate the bhakti we carry. They can appreciate the sincerity we carry. They can appreciate the surrender we have. Even if you're not able to express everything clearly. So like that here, sages can understand exaltedness of Sukadeva Goswami. So then after receiving Sukadeva Goswami nicely, then he glorifies, Parishit Maharaj glorifies Sukadeva Goswami. Interestingly, he says, simply by remembering you, your house has become sanctified. So what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat like that. So that is a greatness, great opportunity. We should also be eager to receive the saintly personalities. Even in the small books, Prabhupada makes it a point to glorify this particular point, that we should be eager to receive the saintly personalities and hear from them like that. So now he says the greatest sins are immediately vanquished in your presence like that. And then he says, you only appeared because of Krishna's grace on me. Why Krishna has mercy on me? Not because I'm a great devotee, because my Pandavas are great devotees of Krishna. Krishna likes Pandavas, my relatives. That's why he's showing affection to me also. Like that he says. This is a sign of humility again. See, he didn't say, I'm a great devotee, that's why you came. So now he places the same questions before Sukadeva Goswami again. He says, show the way of perfection for all perfections, especially for one who is about to die. Same questions in a different way. He's saying, what is the way of perfection? And especially for the one who is about to die, like that. And then he says, specifically, this shows that Parishit Maharaj was not ignorant. He was a great devotee already, but he's asking for benefit of all of us. This particular 30th verse says, please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. So these are the questions he places before him. These are the questions form the basis for rest of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam for us, starting with the second canto. So hopefully we'll all release the Srimad Bhagavatam next canto onwards also. I'll pause here. I'm sorry, I think I took 1 hour already. I don't know if there's any time for questions. You can consider, Mati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. What a beautiful, beautiful session, Prabhu. It is so nice that you were relishing it so much, so we were relishing it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have plenty of time for questions, Prabhu. You finished it exactly on time. So definitely there's time for questions.
Okay, thank you, Mati. Yeah, please feel free to share. All of you can share any realizations or any corrections also. I know many of you read and hear Bhagavatam for so many years, more than me, and you have so much realization also. Please feel free to share your realizations also, so I can also learn from you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Anybody has any questions or realizations or anything you would like to share? I think Pralananda Prabhu is already unmuted.
Thank you very much, Mataji. And thank you very much, Sundaranandas Prabhuji. Very glad to hear this. I've been trying to follow this, series, and sometimes I miss and I regret it so much. But today's class was pure gold, pure gold, actually. And I always follow the Subodhini also. So that's how it is so relishable. And, but I want to suggest one thing, I know there is a time constraint or what, but putting one or two sloks and singing them in between, that was I was missing, It says, no uttam slok vartayam justam tat katham rutam syat sambraham kale smartam tat padam bhujam. I was almost singing myself. And then finally, Jaisam Sansmaran Punsam Sadhya Sudnyati Vaigruha Kim Punardasan Sparspad Sutanasa. So if I was kind of, eager to hear these slokas coming up. So this is what it is. Srimad Bhagavatam is pure Bhagavan Krishna himself. And, when we sing these words of Sukdev Goswami, I am a great follower of Sripad Radha Govind Swami. Every day I have to hear him, otherwise I feel impure like that. So this is how he does that, and I really enjoy. But Prabhuji, you did a great job. That's my realization. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I've done what to everyone there. Haribol.
Yeah, thank you so much for the recommendation, Prabhu. I'll follow from next time. Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sundaranand Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. It's exactly like what Preeti Mataji was saying, you're relishing it so much. So we also were enjoying with you. Okay, wow. Okay, so nice. The whole pastime was explained so nicely. I really loved how you were talking about, how everything gets encapsulated in the beginning, like how Sutta Goswami he just gave a capsule version of the whole pastime to the sages. But they slowly glorify him. They try to encourage him to speak more on it. And then he elaborated very wonderfully. Very nice pastime and very nice narration and summary, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Very nice class, Prabhuji. I also listened to your Telugu classes. That also is pure nectar. And here also you are giving in English the nectar today. So nice to hear, Prabhuji, from you always. Maybe you discussed this. I joined, I think, about 5 or 6 later. Prabhuji, is there any mention of it said that Kali Yuga was just, peeping its ugly head, and in the previous chapters, and so this whole pastime was to just, more show that Kali Yuga was entering, and the kind of the fall down of Brahmanas from their culture, like how Shringi he kind of impatiently cursed, Parikshit Maharaj. So is there a mention of that also, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mate. Yeah, nicely you touched on the main points. Yes, Mate. Yeah, there's a mention of that in the purports, especially how Kali's influence was there in the Brahmana, especially Sringi. That's one of the reason he was taking that severe stand against Parikshit for a small thing like that. That was the influence of Kali like that also is described, Mate. But obviously the main purpose of the pastime is, we know that to hear Krishna Katha for our benefit and for the Srimad Bhagavatam to appear. So all this happened, but that's also one of the main angle like you described, Mate. That's also described in the purports of this section. Yeah. Mate.
I just felt like from what you told, Prabhu, Krishna is so expert at, bringing out these sublime truths to all of us, in so many ways, like he preached to Arjuna, and, now Shukadev Goswami is actually preaching. So it's so beautiful how Krishna arranges all this for our purification. And a wonderful speaker like you also for my purification, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mate. Yeah, Krishna is wonderful. And Bhagavatam is also wonderful. Yeah. Like Krishna. Yeah. Yes, Mate. Thank you, Mate.
Bharat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It
Hare
was
Krishna,
very
Prabhuji.
nice to hear your lecture, Prabhuji. So nice learning from your end. So Prabhuji, I have one question. Like, Parikshit Maharaj when put the snake around the neck of the Shamik Rishi, so was it a Vaishnava path? Means out of the Vaishnava etiquettes, or being a king, he has a right to do this. Can you show some light on this?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for the question. Yeah, I not heard directly on this topic, but I'll mention few things based on what I heard around this, Prabhu, not the specific topic. So my answer will not be directly about the point you are asking, but I'll mention things that I know around it, and also open up for any other devotees have any other relation or understanding on this also. So first of all, I did not hear whether Samik Rishi was a Vaishnava or not. I do not have that knowledge, Prabhu. He may be Vaishnava also, but I did not hear that so far. That is one thing I want to share. Second thing is, whenever we hear these pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam or like this is about devotees, great Vaishnavas like Parikshit Maharaj, Lord Brahma, even Indra, for example, like this, then one caution that is described by devotees, how we are supposed to take them. That's what I'm going to share. One is that they did this because uh, of the Lord's plan. Lord has a desire for Srimad Bhagavatam to manifest in such a way. That is why in proceeding towards the Leela of Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam appearance, this one of the incident that happened. Basically, even in spiritual world, everything happens to facilitate the Leela or pastime of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord's Leela Shakti does that for Krishna. Even in different pastimes like Agasura Leela, also we hear Krishna was momentarily bewildered. I didn't want my cohort boys, my friends, to go inside Agasura's mouth, but how come they're going against my Ichcha Shakti? And then it is described by Acharyas, that is our Leela Shakti, our pastime potency, doing that, it seems. Again, for pleasure of Krishna only, in a different way. So that is one way to take it. That means because of the pastime potency of the Lord, not because of some mistake that Parikshit Maharaj did like that. Second thing is that if a great personality, great Vaishnava like this, like Parikshit Maharaj, Indra, Brahma, if great personalities can do it, how about a small devotee like me? I need to be very, very careful. That's the other way to take it. And the third thing that is described is that we should not take this one incident of the great personality, one small incident of great personality, and evaluate, wow, see, they're not a great Vaishnava like that. So we should see that this particular thing is a one incident, but overall their life, they've been a wonderful devotee. So we should still consider them as a great devotee like that. These are the other 3 points, periphery points only I'm telling, Prabhu. But the original question you asked, is it a Vaishnava Prada or not? I never heard about Samik Rishi being Vaishnava and then this incident being considered a Vaishnava Prada so far, Prabhu. But I will leave it open for other devotees also. If anybody has heard anything on this topic, please share for all our benefit.
Thank you, Prabhuji. No worries about that. Thanks for the realization that the 3 points you had told us, it's more sufficient, then we can bypass that more learning.
Yeah, thank you,
Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanush Pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much
Hare Krishna.
for sharing such beautiful realization to the entire class.
Hare Krishna.
And thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your realizations as you shared, like how we have to see a bigger picture, not seeing just one incident and judging others, especially these demigods who are always in the service of the Lord. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
And I feel, Prabhu, that why not? Shamik Rishi is why not a Vaishnava? Because after all, he is a great devotee, and how positive he took, that Parikshit Maharaj, what he did. So seeing his positive nature and seeing his nature of chastising Shringi, that you did wrong to such a great Mahabhagavat, itself shows a quality of a Vaishnava. Right. So, yes, what I feel is, yes, he's a Vaishnava, and what Parikshit Maharaj did is also, like you said, that just by small incident, we are nowhere to judge Parikshit Maharaj's action, but rather seeing a bigger picture at how Mahabhagavat he is and how Srimad Bhagavatam has to manifest. So some cause has to be there, right?
Yes, Mati.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And Parikshit Maharaj has the full thing to counteract that curse, but how positively when he took it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, Prabhu. Thank
Yeah.
you so much
Yeah.
for sharing your beautiful realization. I really like the way you covered entire 2 chapters and in such a beautiful way, and that too in exact in time. So that's glorious, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
And pranams.
Thank you, Mati. Thank you for sharing your relation also, Mati. And pranam, Mati.
Sujata Subhash.
Oh, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful session, Prabhuji. It was really wonderful. The way you summarized the whole thing and gave us the essence of it. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Mati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I was just thinking verse 46 may also answer Bharat Prabhu's question. Just a thought. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mati. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, it's verse 46, Prabhuji. The Emperor Parikshit is a pious king. He is highly celebrated and is a first-class devotee of the personality of Godhead. He is a saint amongst royalty and he has performed many horse sacrifices. When such a king is tired and fatigued, being stricken with hunger and thirst, he does not at all deserve to be cursed. Purport, Prabhupada explains that after explaining the general codes relating to the royal position and asserting that the king can do no wrong and therefore is never to be condemned, the sage Shamika wanted to say something about Emperor Parikshit specifically. The specific qualification of Maharaja Parikshit is summarized here. And so that's what Prabhupada, kind of mentions, that the king can do no wrong and therefore is never to be condemned.
Okay. Thank you for highlighting that point. Even if I would have read that, I would not have caught that point, Mati. Yeah, thank you. Basically, Emperor has the right to do it like that, you're saying. Thank you.
At least I understood like that from the purport, it says that the king can do no wrong and therefore is never to be condemned.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Mati. Yes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mati.
Bhavna Mati.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mati.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji, for explaining so sweetly. You explain as Bhagavatam is so sweet, and you explain all this very sweetly. Prabhuji, my question is like when we say that when Kali enters, then the Brahman degrades from their position, like they become intolerant and became like angry, and all these qualities came in them. So like when we see the case of Durvasa Muni, we see that he's also like means a kind of angry Brahman when we study about him, and means a kind of short-tempered and in not that much tolerant. Like in case of Pandavas also, we see the when he like to the Ambrish Maharaj also, he was means not that much tolerant as Ambrish Maharaj, because he's a great devotee. So how to understand this thing, that after entry of Kali Yuga only the Brahman degrades from this position, their position, like being intolerant and all this. So just to understand.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mati, for the question. Yeah. So the what I understood from your question is like you're trying to see, is the Brahmana's qualities degrading? Is it only because of Kali Yuga? Basically, that is the crux of the question. Considering that Durvasa Muni incident he's showing anger even before Kali Yuga, like that, in Satya Yuga, previous Yugas also like that, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. So the exhibition of anger or intolerance or other substandard qualities or inferior qualities is not the reason, is only the cause is not only because of the Kali Yuga. In this particular incident, in this particular pastime, the Brahmana was influenced by Kali Yuga also is described in the particular pastime. That's why he was exhibiting disproportionate punishment giving, anger like that, in this particular pastime like that. But that's not the only contributing factor. Influence of Kali is not the only contributing factor for anybody for that matter, even if it's Brahmana, to exhibit inferior qualities from lower modes, passion and ignorance. Anger, we learn from Bhagavatam that there are qualities like anger, pride, these are all from lower modes like passion, ignorance, like that, right? Modes. So they can be exhibited in other yugas also. That is one point. Second point is, when it's described about Durvasa Muni pastime, Prabhupada repeatedly describes two main points, two main themes whenever this Durvasa Muni Amrish Maharaj pastime comes. One is, one main theme I understood is that Durvasa Muni was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. That's why he's easily angered and easily easily pleased also, like Lord Shiva. Like Lord Shiva is known as Ashutosh, right? Like easily pleased. Similarly, Durvasa Muni was also easily pleased and easily angered also. Like that, that's how that quality is described in connection with Lord Shiva for Durvasa Muni, like that. That's one thing I heard in the theme. And another theme we constantly hear in connection with the Durvasa Muni and Amrish Maharaj pastime, which you also told in the connection, when you're asking your question also, you're also sharing that perspective, if I understood correctly, that Prabhupada says Amrish Maharaj was a pure devotee, whereas Durvasa Muni was not a pure devotee yet, but definitely very exalted personality, for sure, but not a pure devotee like that. So that is why Amrish Maharaj could exhibit qualities like tolerance. Even is described, even his eyelid did not blink when Durvasa Muni created that great demon from his hair like this, right? So, but then Durvasa Muni was not a devotee. When somebody is not a devotee, they may not be able to exhibit all the high qualities like a devotee all the time like that. That's the other theme Prabhupada describes in this connection. I hope that makes sense so far, Mati. Or if you have clarification.
Prabhuji. Yes, you greatly explained. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanwad pranam.
Dhanwad pranam, Mati.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mati.
So please stay tuned to the series. We will be starting our second canto next week. And also remember the connection between the first canto and the second canto is the two questions asked by Parikshit to Shukadev Goswami. So keep that in mind so we know where we're connecting next week in the next canto. So thank you again, Prabhu, for a very valuable association and very wonderful class. We can now end the call here. Looking forward to getting all of your association next week too. Vanchakalpatarubhishta kripasindhubhi
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavjanda ki jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada
Jai.
Bhagavatam summary series ki jai,
Jai.
Sundarananda Prabhu ki jai, all
Hare
glory
Krishna.
to Srila Prabhupada and all
Hare
glory
Krishna.
to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Prabhu,
Thank you.
Dhanwad
Hare
pranam.
Krishna.